doing a push-up.
This is still going?
Yep. Hello, hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day. How you doing? Welcome to this episode, everybody, episode 224 of the GMat podcast. What a pleasure it is to see you, to chat with you, if you are here listening. I appreciate you. It was a weird one. I know, again, it's a me sitting here, solo podcast. But some crazy stuff has been happening, which has made it really difficult to get together for a podcast this week. So I figured I'd just jump on, have a chat. I was going to upload a previous jazzcast, but there was an issue with that, which I will resolve. So now I'm doing this very last minute Friday night or Friday afternoon recording for episode 224. Hey, if you do want to listen to the jazzcast or indeed the post show, make sure you support the GMat podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/the GMat podcast. Go there, there's stuff. You'll love it. And you guys know all the other things you can do to support the show. But for now, just hang out and listen, because I'm going to chat. I don't know what I'm going to chat about exactly. I know there's a couple things I want to talk about, but we'll just work it out as we go. First off, so last week I had COVID, which obviously always makes it really difficult to do the podcast. I'm one of the I'm like the key part of the podcast where if I am unwell and I can't do the podcast, it's not that content wise the gang couldn't do it without me. It's that I have the stuff, you know what I mean? They could 100% do a podcast without me, and I'd love to hear that one day. But it's all set up here. The mixer, the recording software, everything is in my office. So it makes it really, when I can't do it, it's pretty much impossible unless we do some guerrilla style recording, which is always an option. But yeah, so that's why we didn't do it last week, because I had COVID, and Beck and I were doing auditions at the time. Luckily, I was able to do all my stuff over video, but Beck really had a good shot at this for this show. So I desperately didn't want to get her sick, and she also desperately didn't want to get sick. So we isolated away from each other, and I slept in this office for 7 nights in a row. And last time we did this, it was the same deal. Like, people get really loosey-goosey and casual about COVID and be like, if my partner gets it, I'll get it. And you know what? I respect that if that's what you feel and what you want to do. But, we still have some reservations about COVID, and in particular getting COVID multiple times, which has been proven to be bad. To just keep getting it and getting it can have pretty detrimental effects. So, doesn't matter. Point is that we don't want to get COVID. So last time I had COVID, we tried not to give it to Beck, but we'd been together already for a good amount of time when I found that I had COVID. So I was only in here for, I think, 2 nights, 3 days, and then she got COVID. So we just smushed together again. But this time she managed to go the entire time without getting COVID, which is great for her, really shitty for me, because I lived in this office for 7 nights. I went fucking crazy, you guys. I went mental in here. I was writing shit on the walls. I was using my shit to write shit on the walls. It was bananas. But it was it's a really odd way to live, because at one point, being in this room, by the way, I don't think I ate a vegetable the entire week. We'd actually just gotten into a bit of a gym program and a good dieting, for a good patch of time there. We stopped going to our actual gym, and now we go to Ben's home gym. What's he call it? It's like Swole Nation or something ridiculous. It's not. It's better than that. Anyways, so we go there because he has a squat rack, and he basically has my entire workout in his garage. And so we go there and work out a couple times a week. At this point, we were going four times a week to work out with him. I was going really well, and then I got COVID, and I ate like a piece of shit, and now it's time to get back into that. What was I talking about? That wasn't the point of that whole thing. So I didn't eat a vegetable the whole week. I kind of went outside maybe twice a day, in the morning and the evening. Just went out into the backyard and had a coffee or a cup of tea and spoke with Beck at a distance with masks. And then I'd come in here, and it was super odd where I would just like, on like day 3, it's just time stopped mattering. Mattering? Time stopped. Is mattering a word? Time didn't matter anymore. Mattering's a word, right? Why does that not sound like a word? Oh my God, I sound high. The time didn't really matter. And I would just like, I'd be up at 4 a.m. and then I'd sleep for 3 hours, and get up and work for like 4 or 5 hours, and then sleep for an hour, and then get up and stream, and then sleep for 8 hours, and then get up and work for an hour, and then play video games for 6 hours, and then sleep for 2 hours. Like I just sort of did what my body wanted. Like if I was sleeping, and on those first couple of days of COVID, it knocked me the fuck out. So I would just like one day I just slept like 18 hours in a row because I just couldn't get up. I was like, fuck, I'm knackered. I'm knocked out here. Yeah. So because of that, I just started sleeping when I wanted to sleep. And because I was kind of working whenever, I was able to work around the clock. I would just cram it in when I could, and there was no distractions. I was in here, so when it was time to work, I was just like a bullet. I was just smashing through stuff, and I was like, oh, I've done everything. I'm pretty tired. I might as well go to sleep. So it was a weird 7 days. Weird 7 days. But yeah, because of that, luckily we've been a week ahead. We found a week a long time ago to record 2 podcasts in a week, which we always think is the best way to be. So that way we are a week ahead. So we're recording, we record a podcast during the week, and that one we record doesn't publish till the following Saturday. So that's, well, you guys know what a week ahead means. Point is, we're a week ahead, and now we're not. So last Saturday, I published the one, that we had sitting there from the week before, and now we've got nothing. And we haven't recorded one this week, which is why I'm doing this now. So next week we'll record one, and hopefully we'll find some time at the end of the week to record another one to get us a week ahead again. But we've gone a long periods of time by recording the same week we publish, so we might do that for a few weeks until we find a chance for us to get together and make a catch-up one. So yeah, that's why I'm here speaking to you now on a crooked camera, one-on-one, or one on a few hundred. By the way, we had a really hard time getting our schedules back in order and trying to get us all into the same room. And when we did finally do it, I did notice the numbers go pew and skyrocket. And it's really cool to see you guys actually see what you like and what you want to hear and what you want to enjoy. And seeing the podcast in its entirety seems to you guys seem to respond to. So as best you can, check in with these episodes if they do come up, because they will come up from time to time, because we're all living separate lives and doing separate things, and it's not our full time. This is not even our jobs, even kinda. So it's we try our best to get all together, but sometimes we just gotta work with whoever can make it. But thank you for supporting. If you do support, no matter what, appreciate you, love you. Yeah. So now the other exciting news is, and I'll give you guys the briefest version I can, because I am releasing a video on my channel in a couple of weeks when everything is fully finalized. It's finalized at this point, but when I say finalized, I haven't gotten to the end of the agreement that I made. I'll talk about it in a second. But the point is, I've made a video for the Real GMat channel, not the GMat podcast, for those who don't follow the GMat brand in its entirety. My personal channel, the Real GMat, the big channel. I will be publishing a video on there that is an hour long. Accidentally, I just sat down in front of the camera and just talked like I am now, and it's an hour long, and it's not like edited. It's just me talking for an hour, and I don't stop talking. There's so much to talk about. But I don't want to do that now. I want to give you guys the brief sort of just the dot points. And then if you want to know more on what the real, the tea, you can check that out when it drops in a couple of weeks. But the video will be titled Why I Left Gamology, because I'm leaving Gamology. For those who don't know, I've worked with Gameology for a few years. I make videos with them and videos for them on their main channel, Gameology, and then our collaborative channel, Send Noobs. And Send Noobs is like my brand, my playing video games and making commentary stuff. It's like my regular channel videos, except they're censored and I don't select the topics and stuff like that. So I made the decision a few weeks ago. I thought about this about 6 months ago, was that I was starting to not enjoy my time there anymore. It was starting to become a burden and a drain. I don't have anything really bad to say about Gameology. I do love Gameology. I work with Gameology. I would recommend anybody work with Gameology. But me and one of the guys there, who I had a lot to do with, started not seeing eye to eye on a lot of things, content in particular. And that tension of that was really starting to affect the work, my mental health, and my life. And like at the start, for a year or so, it just affected the work. And then obviously there's only so long you can keep that all contained until it starts pouring out into your personal life and you start snapping at your friends and, not being present at home with your girlfriend, all that sort of stuff. Not that I'm saying that this all happened to me, but this did not happen to me. I have been snappy and crabby and stressed, and it's had an effect on my personal life and on the channel and on everything that I've been doing. And so about 6 months ago, I thought that it had gotten too much, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how employable I was or what my what skills I could bring. But I made the sort of mental decision that this wasn't going to be the rest of my life. This job wasn't going to be around for, even another year. Like I now had my foot out the door. And then a few weeks ago, after one particularly aggressive back and forth I had with this guy I work with, I said enough's enough, and I applied for another job. I did one application, I sent one email, and I had an interview the next day with Watch Mojo. For those who don't know Watch Mojo, they're quite a big channel on YouTube, 26 million subscribers. I'm a big fan of Watch Mojo, which is, I guess, the kind of difference between Mojo and Gameology is that I've been enjoying Watch Mojo's content for years. I love Watch Mojo. And Gameology, on the other hand, I didn't really even know who they were when I started working for them. But that's not a sting on Gameology. But at that point, they didn't have a big YouTube following. And they've done really, really well. To give them credit, they've gone from like nothing to 2 million subscribers. That's a huge, huge effort. And that's all through the show that they created called Experts React. That was their show. That was their baby. And it was genius. And they did good stuff with it. So I sent this email to Watch Mojo and had an interview the next day. Spoke to the head of Mojo Plays, which is one of their offshoot channels. Mojo Plays is about 500,000 subscribers. And that went really well. And he said, I want you to meet the big boss. And so the next day, I had a meeting with the head of Mojo, the head of Watch Mojo and the head of Mojo Plays. And we had a chat, and they essentially, hired me on the spot, and they made me feel, they affirmed all that stuff that I was worried about, which was me saying, am I employable? What are my skills? And they said, hey, you're an asset. And they explained to me that in their company, they have things called QTs, which are quadruple threats. They don't have a lot of them. They're very difficult to come across. And they explained that I was one of these quadruple threats in terms of like my skills, the things that I can do. And that they want people like me. They're seeking people like me. They liked the work. In my original email, it was so loose, I didn't even attach my CV. I just said, here's my work. And they said, we love your work. Come work for us. And I said, yes, please. And they made me feel really, really valued immediately. The culture was, the culture difference was shocking because they were, the work culture, not the, like heritage culture. I don't know what you call, the culture, like they're Canadian. Just got myself mentally tongue-tied there. But I meant the work culture, not their culture. Canadians. But they're nice. They're Canadians and they're very, very lovely. And they were, it was, I immediately felt warmth and appreciation and their passion for the content that they're making, rather than just doing what they can to get clicks and views, which is is starting to happen with Gameology. Again, not to get too bitchy. I don't want this to turn into me. It's like the hour-long video. I said I don't want this to turn into me ragging on Gameology, because that's not what I want to do. They do a lot of good stuff, but this is where our arguments have come up. Is where I think there's a big shift in focus, because when they started Experts React and with Send Noobs, the stuff that I make with them, there was always a big focus on content and making the best content that we want to watch as the people who are making the content. And then other people will respond to that. If you make good stuff that you want to watch, somebody will respond to that and watch it. And there was a big culture shift when this new guy took over, took the position of my boss. This guy took over. The shift turned into, what can we do to get clicks, views, following algorithms, stats, trends, and I just started making stuff that I didn't like, and which, is always part of the job, but it also wasn't working. Like, it wasn't working any more than if we just made good content, especially for Send Noobs. And so I started putting stuff out on Send Noobs that I hated. I was really not happy with, and it would go up on their Facebook page, which is kind of the point of Send Noobs, was to make content for Send Noobs on YouTube, which is only about 30,000 subscribers. I shouldn't hit the mic stand, sorry, when I'm making a point. But the big reason for Send Noobs was so that they could post original content that they produced on their Facebook channel. God, I think I said a bunch of words wrong then. Send Noobs was made so that they could post original produced content on Facebook, because Facebook was cracking down on big channels like Lad Bible, Gaming Bible, Gameology, publishing content that they didn't produce, so you couldn't monetize it. So they needed to find a gamer, a resident creator, me, to make content for them that they owned, that they could publish on their channel. So it wasn't them, it was me going, haha, look at this game that I'm playing, but they produced and owned it. So it just looked like some gamer, playing a game, and people would click and they go, oh, that's funny. The big problem with that is I've been doing that for 3 years now, and so people are starting to pick up on that. They're starting to see me featured twice a week on a Facebook page that has 9 million followers. And so I'm seeing in the comments, why do you guys always feature GMat stuff? How much did this guy pay you to post his videos so much? Stop posting GMat stuff. Like, obviously there's like a bunch of people who are like, this is hilarious, and tagging their friends, and then there's a selection, a smaller selection of people, haters, I guess, or trolls, whatever you want to call them, that comment hurtful things. And that's all the time, obviously. That's with every video I'm always on Facebook. Particular, Facebook's an ugly website, but the comments up there are pretty horrendous. But it's not even like a half thing. It's like mostly good, and then a bunch of bad. But because it's like thousands of comments, it's not that hard to come across the bad. So I saw that a lot, and that was another thing that led me to thinking, maybe it's time to move away from this, because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that's coming up in people's feed and they're annoyed by it, because they're not coming to... I'd be pissed off too if I was following Gameology because of Experts React and Experts Try and Gamers React and stuff like that. That is their show. And then because I follow them, this fucking asshole with a big dumb head comes up playing some stupid game keeps coming up, and you know, I can be obnoxious, and I can be abrasive and loud and screamy, and like that's part of my content. And if that comes up and you see me screaming, I'll be like, oh, get that shit out of here. And I don't want to be that guy to people. I don't want to be that annoying face that's in people. If people want to see my annoying face, I want them to come to my annoying face. That sounded dirty. I want them to come on my annoying face. I want them, if people want to watch a GMat video, they will go to the real GMat. They shouldn't have to see it in their feed and be like, oh, get the fuck out of here. Maybe once or twice, but not twice a week on a page that has nothing to do with me. That really started affecting me mentally. And I'm sorry, I've gone on a tangent here. I've gone off track of what I was talking about, but I didn't want to do that anymore. And that meant that I needed to not do Send Noobs anymore, and I needed to not work for Gameology anymore. Because at the moment, I make 2 Send Noobs videos a week, and I make a Gameology edit a week, which is at the moment Top 10, which is the show I've produced and created with them for their main channel. And then on the side, I have my own stuff, which is, as I worked out, 25% of my wage. Which, by the way, let's take a moment to celebrate that my own brand, my YouTube channel and my Twitch channel is 25% of my working wage. And, you know, I don't make $1,000 a month. I make a living wage where I can pay my bills, I can buy groceries, I can buy my girlfriend a birthday present. You know, I still go work paycheck to paycheck. You know, I don't have a massive savings account, but I make more money than I've ever made in my life. And we have a nice house and we share it with our good friend Bruce, and, you know, 25% of my wage is big, you know, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm really happy about that. But I don't want that to be where it stops. I want to keep growing GMat. But at this point, with the 2 Send Noobs videos a week and the Gameology edit, you know, where do I find time for the other stuff? Fitting the podcast in, it has proven obviously in the last, you know, couple of months to be very difficult to get it into the schedule. And then I was trying to make at least 1 GMat video a week. And at this point, sometimes it's hard to even do that. I've missed weeks constantly. Plus the 4 or 5 streams I do a week. You know, I don't want to, I hit the ceiling with Send Noobs. Send Noobs was always something that was going to benefit my brand. I'll make a video for Send Noobs, Gameology owns it, it's theirs. But in the video, I say, hey, by the way, check out my personal channel, The Real GMat on YouTube. And I would use Send Noobs to build my own brand. And it works to an extent, but I've hit the ceiling. I've hit as far as I can go with Send Noobs, where it still benefits and still grows my personal channel. And now it's time to walk away from Send Noobs and invest that time back into GMat, back into the real GMat, back into GMat on Twitch, back into the GMat podcast, back into my brand. Because if I'm not building my brand and building everything I'm doing here, then what's the fucking point of all this? Because the whole point of everything is so that one day I can do just my work full time. I can, you know, hire my friends to make content as well. Pay people to like, I can build this into a business. That's the whole point of this. And at some point, I would say probably 2 or 3 years ago, I lost sight of that and started focusing on, you know, just paying my bills, which is obviously important. But I did that at the detriment of my own brand and started putting so much of myself into Gameology, and letting myself be underpaid and overworked. And because of that, I lost focus and I've kind of really let GMat, all the GMat stuff coast. Now, that's not to say I haven't made stuff that I'm proud of and done events that, like the G stream every year. Obviously the G stream that we just did, we raised like 6,500 or like 6,000 and something Australian dollars, which it was like I think it was like $4.5 grand USD. Like it just, I'm super proud of those events, and I've made videos. If I die, I get high. The Silent Hill 2 video, like the stuff I've been producing recently, I've been particularly proud of. Like, I don't want people to think when I say that I've been coasting that it's been constant. You know, there's ups and downs, and you know, I'm just using that as a blanket statement to say that I'm coasting. You know, there's been a lot of streams, games that we've played, weeks and chunks of time in the stream where I've been really happy with what we've been making. But as a blanket statement, I will say that for, you know, an extended period of time, let's say 2 years, or even maybe just a year, I have been, for lack of a better word, coasting a little bit. And I'm done with that. I'm over that shit. I want to get back into making content for myself, for my fans, and for this brand. And the best way to do that is for me to step away from Gamology. Now, that's a pretty long way of saying everything. Obviously, there's so much more to go into, and that's why there's going to be that hour-long video. But yeah, so for now, I'm taking a bit of a pay cut, obviously. It's not enough to cause me to sweat a lot, but I will be making about... I ended up working it out probably like $100 less or $150 less a week, Australian. So it ended up being, I think it was like 80 or 90 USD less a week, you know, which is substantial. But like I said, I will have a bit more time on my hands, so I can invest that back into the stuff, into that 25% wage that is the GMat stuff. And hopefully, you know, move that 25% up to like 30% or something like that. Because the more time I invest, the more money I make. The more time I put in, the more streams, the more I give to the community, the more they want to give back. You know, the more revenue I make when I put out more videos. All that sort of stuff will have an impact. And that's the plan. And that's what I want to do. And I want to build the Patreon, obviously, for the GMat podcast. Obviously, a cut of that goes to Ben and Aiden as well, just to help pay for fuel and just the general pain in the arsery it is sometimes to be checking your phone, to organize what time we'll be doing it. Like I try to give them a little bit of cash just to say thanks. So at the moment, that Patreon does support that side of things as well. And that's the plan. So now I'll be moving to Watch Mojo, and the work that I do for me and the work that I do for them will not be touching like it has been for Gamology. Send Noobs and GMat and everything is far too close together, way too close. And it's time to have like this, my work for Watch Mojo and GMat, and just treat them as separate entities and let them breathe on their own and let them have their own time and not be so crissy-crossy and, you know. Yeah, I'll stop talking about that now. That's what's happening. If you want to know what's going to happen with Send Noobs and stuff like that, check out the actual video when it drops, because at the moment I actually don't know what's happening with Send Noobs. I don't know whether it's going to somebody else, whether it's going to come to a close and just stop. I'm not sure. Yeah. I feel like I've been talking for too long already. Maybe I should just end it there. Yeah, let's go with that. So thanks, guys, for just listening to this short little podcast with just me chatting. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I'm glad I don't have COVID. I'm glad I'm moving on to bigger things, and I'm glad you guys are still listening. Stay tuned. We should have Ben and Aiden and Beck back in the room next week for a good one. And until then, I'll see you guys around. Mwah! Take care of yourselves.